Do you have a healthy spine? What do you think are some signs of a healthy spine? What do you think are some signs of an unhealthy spine? In this video, I will talk about 3 simple characteristics of a healthy spine and cover some misconceptions when it comes to back pain. The first characteristic of a healthy spine is pain-free. Now, a pain-free spine is generally a good first question to pre-screen someone for a healthy spine. Pain is present. The spine is unhealthy in some way. There's some weakness, there's some imbalances, there's some damage somewhere, right? That makes sense. And no pain, well, the spine could be healthy or unhealthy. It all depends, because there are other characteristics that need to be explored in order to make a definitive decision on a healthy spine if no pain is present. And that's what we're going to talk about today. And so the interesting thing is many people actually don't show any symptoms of back pain, but have a very unhealthy spine. Many people are actually asymptomatic in their 20s, their 30s, their 40s, their 50s, and back pain shows up later, further down the road, because they don't spend any time improving the spine's ability and giving it what it needs. The reality is, if you neglect something, if you don't give something your intention, in other words, if you don't put your time and energy into something to make it better, it will get worse and worse over time no matter what it is. But if you give your intention to something and you follow up your intention with action and consistency, that thing will get better. It has no choice. It doesn't matter how old you are, how smart you are, how big, how small, and it doesn't matter if it's your spine or if it's learning to play the guitar. Whatever you put your time and energy into to make that thing better, it will get better. What's interesting about back pain is there have been studies on asymptomatic people, meaning people who don't have back pain, looking at their spine images to evaluate what their spine health is like. This particular study looked at 3,110 people and their CT and MRI scans. And the numbers are crazy. And before we get into that, just so you are aware, a CT scan is a computed tomography scan. Tomo meaning section and graph meaning drawing. So it is a scan that goes section by section and makes a drawing at each section and brings those drawings together, and you get a full image of whatever you're looking at: bone, muscle, organs, whatever. And MR imaging, or MRI, is magnetic resonance imaging that uses magnetic fields and radio waves to image the structures in the body. This is some crazy stuff. Like, it's actually mind-blowing how this works. MRIs basically create an image based on moving the hydrogen atoms in our body using radio waves. And then as those hydrogen atoms move back into their original place, they release a little bit of energy, and the computer senses that and puts that into an image. It's crazy. Anyways, most of my life I knew of those two things and I didn't know what they were, but I really hope that helps somebody. So these right here are the study results from these 3,110 CT or MR imaging images. And it's fascinating how many people are living with deteriorating spine. Like, if you look here, it's like in people's 20s, disc degeneration 37%, disc signal loss, disc height loss like 17%, 24%, disc bulge 30%, disc protrusion 29%, annular fissure 19%, facet degeneration 4%, spondylolisthesis 3% in their 20s. Like, this is no joke. Like, these numbers are crazy. And some of this stuff might not mean anything to you. So with the disc alignment, there's protrusion, bulge, and herniation. And all 3 of those mean the same thing, but a protrusion is less severe than a bulge, and then a bulge is less severe than a herniation. Annular fissure has to do with the outer covering of a disc. So a spine disc has like this gel-like substance in the middle. It's called a nucleus pulposus, and it's encased by this annular fibrosis, this hard, thick, tough outer layer holding all of the gel-like stuff in. And so annular fissures are little tears or cracks in this outer layer that's around the disc. And spondylolisthesis is when one vertebrae slips forward. So generally you have your spine stacked like this, and that disc will slip forward. That's what that is. But anyways, these numbers are insane, and they get progressively worse pretty fast. I mean, by the time somebody's 30, disc generation is 52%. Like that's crazy town. And so I believe that this doesn't mean that the spine is meant to break down. I believe that this shows that the average individual doesn't give their spine any attention and intention. Because the reality is most people are unwilling to strength train and move the spine regularly throughout their lifetime. Most people, when they start experiencing back pain, are unwilling to leave their ego at the door, hop on a back extension, only to find out their lower back is extremely weak, and continue to do that over and over and over and over and over again until their back is strong, and then continue to do that for the rest of their life, while incorporating other challenging spine movements to keep their spine healthy, to keep their spine healing, growing, building, becoming stronger. But for you that's watching, you may be willing to strength train to keep a healthy body for life. You may see strength training as a non-negotiable, but back pain may be stopping you from that. Or you injured your back in the gym and you don't know what to do now. I was there. I was stuck in that exact position. I always knew that challenging my body and pushing my strength and getting stronger was necessary in life. But my back injury made me wonder if that was actually going to be a possibility. I won't go into it in depth today, but I soon realized that strength training the spine is just like strength training your elbow. It's just like strength training any other part of the body. First of all, you have to do it. And second of all, use a full range of motion. And third of all, get stronger everywhere. The lower back should be something that you should be able to push in the gym, just like doing bicep curls. The point is, in order for you to get out of back pain, you can use strength training. And I believe that that's the best way to get out of back pain. You can use strength training to address the weakness in and around the spine. And all of the joints, the muscles, the tendons, the ligaments, all of that stuff need it. They will not only heal, but your back pain will permanently start to reduce over time. And as you keep building your pain-free ability little by little by little, pretty soon there's a great possibility you're going to be out of back pain. And pain-free ability means exercising at a level that does not cause any pain and building little by little by little by little each week until you achieve a full range of motion, and then get stronger and stronger and stronger. Build your pain-free ability. Okay. Now, last point about the study. I think this study will mislead so many people. I really think that this study will mislead thousands of people to believing that there is nothing that they can do for their spine, because it will degrade no matter what. It'll degrade, okay, when in reality the study shows the exact opposite. It is showing that spine decay happens in everyone who does not give their spine the movement that it needs every single day. This study is showing that neglect leads to deterioration. This study is showing you, is showing me, is showing everybody that if you neglect your spine, you are sowing decay, deterioration, and a much greater likelihood of injury and pain down the road. Now, on the other hand, an amazing thing that this study is showing us is that degeneration does not determine your pain. And that's great news, because, I mean, the reality is I have degeneration, and I had serious degeneration, serious decreased disc height, herniation, all that stuff. And all of that stuff by the time I was 19 and injured my spine. Now, I still have those things, minus the disc herniation, but they are much, much, much less, and they're getting better. But the degeneration that I have does not determine my pain, the quality of my movement, or any of that stuff. It just takes a long time for those things to heal. And that's why the absence of pain is not the only characteristic of a healthy spine, because there are many people with an unhealthy spine that don't experience any pain, right? So the second characteristic of somebody with a healthy spine is they move without thinking. They have thoughtless movement. And this is a huge sign of spine health, is thoughtless movement. And thoughtless movement without restriction. If you have to think about how you have to move so you don't experience any discomfort or back pain, that's a problem. There's likely large muscle imbalances or weaknesses in and around the spine, causing that discomfort, causing that pain. And usually both are present. A healthy spine can move without you even thinking, oh, is this gonna hurt? I better be careful. Or don't lift with your back. Or planning how to get it in and out of the car without experiencing that much pain. I noticed that when I was in pain, I had to move really slow and methodically and carefully everywhere to minimize my pain. And I was constantly looking for new ways to move that caused less pain. From the basic tasks of putting on my shoes and socks to getting in and out of the car. Okay. My life turned into trying to figure out how to do every single basic life task in a different way that caused less pain. And it was miserable. It was terrible. Probably the worst 2.5 years of my life. And now, after addressing my weaknesses, my imbalances, and the areas in and around the spine that I avoided for my entire life, I don't think at all about moving my spine. And the difference is now that I'm actually trying to move my spine more and exploring new little nooks and crannies of movement, putting my spine in slightly vulnerable positions, because I know that it can't be hurt from just moving, because I've put in the work to strengthen those weaknesses. I've put in the work to iron out those imbalances. I've put in the work and consistency, and I will continue to do so for the rest of my life. I will continue to get better and better. And it's not to brag at all. It's to say that you can do the same with very simple strength training, programs, with very simple exercises. Exercises don't change. You just make them a little harder. It's that simple. And it builds protection in and around the spine that you can't imagine. And it also heals the spine too. You may not fully heal your spine. I may not fully heal my spine, but it's gonna get pretty close. I know that for sure because it's already working. And honestly, I don't really care if it heals all my degeneration or whatever. I don't really care about that. All I really care about is my spine being protected, reliable, very, very strong, and pain-free. Like, my life has completely changed, and this approach saved my life. Thanks be to God, really. Like, sometimes I have a loss for words, that's for sure. It's amazing. It's amazing how well these things work. Now the third characteristic of a healthy spine is static endurance. I have a question for you. Can you endure a normal position like sitting, standing, sleeping for a long period of time without pain? Can you sit, stand, or sleep for a long period of time without fatigue? Can you stand, sit, or sleep in many different positions without experiencing any pain? Those are simple, basic tests that if you answer no to any of those, it's likely you have some weakness, it's likely you have some imbalances, some limitations in and around the spine that need some attention and intention. They need to be addressed, or else more problems will come up in the future. I think it's very valuable for you to understand what addressing these weaknesses looks like. I also think it's very important for you to understand what avoiding these weaknesses looks like as well. Avoidance looks like taking pain medication every single day. Addressing your spine looks like figuring out what movements don't cause any pain and actually make you feel good if you do them. Avoidance looks like getting a massage without building strength in those tight muscles, because muscles tighten up because they are weak. Like, muscle knots aren't just a part of life. Muscle tightness isn't just a part of life. It's a result of weakness. Now, bear with me because this is a big one. Avoidance looks like going to the chiropractor and thinking everything is fixed because your pain is now gone. It's crazy. I see so many people go to the chiropractor, they get cracked a few times, their pain goes away for a little bit, and they think it's the answer. It's mind-blowing to me that somebody can think that they don't have to do anything. Now, I think chiropractic is good. I believe it's very helpful. But let me ask you this question. What caused your back pain in the first place? What caused your vertebrae and your spine discs to shift out of place? It's the surrounding tissue that holds them in. It's the muscle, it's the ligaments, it's the tendons, it's the fascia, it's all that stuff. Chiropractic doesn't change any of that. If those tissues that I just said are weak and tight, your spine is being left unprotected and constantly yanked on by tight muscles. If you do not address your tightness and your weakness, chiropractic is a band-aid. It becomes just like taking pain medication. It becomes just like wearing a back brace. It is like a massage. It is like hip glides, press-ups, all of that stuff that chases pain relief without addressing the root cause. They mask the problem. They neglect the problem. And if you continue in that neglect, your spine will become weaker and weaker. You will become more limited in what you can do. And there's a much higher chance of pain in your future. And a much higher chance of more severe pain in your future. Okay. My second back injury was much worse than my first. And they were 2 years apart. And I was lucky. Some people's injuries are 20 years apart. And there's 20 years of degeneration, decay, deterioration in between those injuries. You should be able to sit more than 15 minutes without pain. And I also believe that you should be able to sit for 5 hours straight with minimal tightness after. You should be able to stand and have a conversation with somebody that you care about for longer than 10 minutes and having your back start to fatigue and feel like it's going to flare up. You should be able to sleep on your side, on your stomach, on your back without intense pain the next day. And I'm not saying these things out of judgment. I'm saying these things out of love. I wish somebody would have told me this when I was going through these issues, because then I would have known that there is a true and permanent way out. That got me back to playing sports, to hunting, to fishing, to enjoying the relationships around me. And this solution allowed me to see myself as a dependent physical force in my household. There is a way out. And I'm telling you, there is a version of yourself that's living a life out of pain in the future. That version of you decided to address the weakness in and around your spine, drive out that weakness by building strength, and remained consistent and never looked back. Okay. I hope you take this to heart, and I hope this message connects with you. And thank you for watching. I look forward to seeing you in a future video. Take care.